There was a plan B at one point. It was a plan A that this then became a plan B, right? What were you going to school for originally?
A lot of people lost everything. I was one of those people, literally lost everything. Lost the house, lost the studio, lost the cars, and then at the end, I looked at my wife, I'm like, as long as I have you, we're good. Lost her too. Yes, for a long time, and even sometimes now, I'm a whole lot better now, but even sometimes now, there was some insecurity, especially earlier on, because I felt like I didn't belong. I felt like I wasn't doing it for real. Because I didn't finish school, I'm like, these people know more than I know. They got a degree in this. I'm just figuring this stuff out as I go, and I'm self-teaching myself. People think it's weakness, but what it does, it connects you with who you really are, and it allows you to grow from where you are. What am I doing with my life? Like there was no plan B. It's not just the story of, what I've accomplished or what I didn't accomplish, that I drop out of college or not. It's who I was created to be.
Welcome to Beauty and the Beast, where we create a safe haven for Black men to engage in deep conversations and share their journeys in a judgment-free space.
In each episode, we dive into topics that matter. This is a space where your story is valued, your voice is heard, and your journey is shared with others who, like you, may feel alone in the world. Let's break the myth that Black men are beasts.
Welcome to Beauty and the Beast. Let's start the conversation. Mr. Victor Hogan.
What's up, brother?
I appreciate you making the time to be here. As you know, I'm Kyle Vaughn. This is my boy Malik Baraka. This podcast, we like to believe, is a little bit different in that we have people walk us through their story.
Okay.
Right? And in doing that, what we like to focus on, more so than you just telling us A, B, C, D, is while you're talking to us about the different points in your life, we want to know about the emotional journey. Not only the impact it has on the people around you, but on you as an individual, right? And what that looks like for maturing in an emotional intelligence perspective.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So I know you as a husband, a father, a business partner, and what will soon to be a successful movie studio.
Absolutely.
You have some beautiful kids. You have a successful career. But what I want to know and where I want to start this line of questioning is, what in your past and or childhood shaped the journey that you're on now?
That's a good question. Early as a memory, I've been a creator my entire life. 5 years. Well, actually, my dad's an artist. So I remember growing up, grew up in South Side of Queens, Ozone Park, South Ozone Park. Parents are immigrants, both from Panama. My father, brilliant with the pencil, with charcoal, with oil paints. And I watched him as a kid doing that. I'd be around 5 years old. I'm like, what? I think I could do that too. So I picked up paper, pencil. I drew my first thing I drew. It was a Disney Goofy, the dog. And I was like, I could actually do it. So to my dad, he was like, this is a great job. Loved it so much, I used it almost as glue and pasted it on the wall. My parents did not get mad at me. I, as a parent, would have lost my mind, but they were okay with that. But that's when I realized this is what I'm going to do. Like, it brought me joy. And I think I never really thought about it till now, but I think the connection was that's something I saw my father do, and he did it so well. And I think in a way that connects me to him. Mm-hmm. And I just thought about that. I never really thought about that in life.
Really?
I think that's what my earliest connection to him was that. And then from there, it was just, I leaned into it. Like kindergarten, first grade, all through elementary school, doing the highlight of my day at school was art class. I went to school for art class. I mean, I like nothing. I mean, I was a solid student, B student, but I went to school specifically to get to art class.
Man, what came to me, bro, as you were sharing that was how magnificent it must have felt to have this man who you viewed as this magnificent artist validate your work at such an early age and give you that level of confidence, like out the gate. to feel like, yeah, you could fly with this, bro.
Again, I never. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
That he's sitting there thinking about this, and I swear to God, I never thought of it from that perspective.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, and you know, because we've done a few films together now, it's like I get so locked into that space, and that was the confidence I needed. But also, it was just an inner love. Like it's in me. Like I am a creative through and through. I tell people all the time, if I wasn't doing this, I don't know, like what am I doing with my life? Like there was no plan B.
Yeah.
Well, so let me stop you there.
Okay.
Because what I do know about you is there was a plan B at one point. It was a plan A that this then became a plan B, right? So what were you going to school for originally?
Oh, studio art. Yeah, well, I guess it's all creative, but you're right. Initially, I was going to be an art teacher. So again, graduated from pencil and paper as a kid, moved into acrylics, moved into oils, then into sculpting, photography, textile. And by the time I got to college, and this happened all through high school and then college, that's when I really started digging into the whole oil space. And I'm like, I want to be an art teacher. I'm being like, I'm going to be an art teacher. And that shifted when it was a job that I was working. I had a job my senior year of high school going into college, art school. I went to to Clayton State, then I went to Atlanta College of the Art Institute of Atlanta. I dropped out. I'm a college dropout. As a creative, like my mind, I think most creatives, it's hard to put us in a box. And in my mind was always going, I'm like, I don't need school for this. In hindsight, I probably should have finished school, but I didn't. Worked out. But I was working this job at a daycare. I used to do these really big, like 5x6 paintings. I stretched my own canvas, and it was I did Disney stuff. I did Warner Brothers stuff. I did some biblical stuff. Just these scenes, and I did over the course of a year. I did like maybe 12 of them, and someone came in, saw it. And then something I always forget about this too. Someone saw it, and they wanted to do a Children of Color storybook Bible, and he brought me in, solicited me to come in to hire me to do this book, and I did it. I'm a published artist as well. Nelson Publishers put it out, but also as a result of that, the place where I was working, there was a guy who worked over in the television department, a guy named Anthony Walker. To this day, my mentor. Like he may not know it, but he molded my career to what I'm doing right now. And he was like, well, you have a real creative mind. You should probably come up and get into television. And I'm like, well, I never really thought about that. Dug deeper into it. And that's when I went from Clayton State to the Art Institute. And I fucked around and realized that in this space, creatively, the sky's the limit. Because it encompassed everything, like film and video, film and television, but from lighting to composition to color to photography. Then you add a layer. I'm not a musician, but I understand music really, really well. It encompasses that. And you can create literally in motion graphics. I was heavy into motion graphics early in my career. And at some point in my career, I did some of everything intensely. From motion graphics to writing to having to find score for commercials, to shooting, DPing, cinematography work. Then I I on purpose got into editing because I got tired of telling an editor what I wanted to do cut by cut. And I remember it was a situation where I was on a project. We were at a post house here in Atlanta. They're no longer around. And I was young. I might have been like 20-ish, 2021, something like that. And I came prepared to do this. It was a commercial piece I was doing. And I'm walking this guy through literally frame by frame what I wanted. He stopped and looked at me. He was like, do you edit? I was like, no. I'm like, I don't know how to edit. He was like, yeah, you do. He's like, you're sitting here telling me exactly what you want, frame for frame. You created these, just before I got to motion graphics, I used Photoshop. I figured out how to use Photoshop to create graphics. And if I line them up just right, it'll actually animate for me. And that was actually, I didn't realize I was doing it the hard way, the long way. Because it's a software called After Effects that does that for you. But at this time, I was doing everything via Photoshop. And he was like, you got everything laid out. He was like, you really need to sit down and edit. And I did that. And I was like, oh shit.
I'm good.
I understand this stuff. And something I understand is storytelling at this base level. Because when I got into this was before the digital space. Some people started in the film, I started in video. So mine was beta to 1 inch. We had switchers, Grass Valley switchers, the whole nine, and we learned chirons. I learned how to really make that stuff sing.
Mm-hmm.
And they messed around and came out with something called an Avid. It was the first nonlinear editing system. I lost my mind. I'm like, yo, it took me forever to do this one dissolve. I could do with one click, and that was it. I took it and ran with it.
So I wanna circle back on something, right? Because I sensed some insecurity in something you said.
Ooh.
And you talked about being a college dropout. I sensed there's some insecurity as it relates to that, especially when you came back and you said, I should have finished. Like, is there something in that, and does it mask itself as imposter syndrome sometimes?
Yeah.
Wow, you're good, God.
No, I'm an amateur.
No. That's loaded. That's I don't want to. Yes, for a long time, and even sometimes now, I'm a whole lot better now. But even sometimes now, there was some insecurity, especially earlier on, because I felt like I didn't belong. I felt like I wasn't doing it for real. Because I didn't finish school. I'm like, these people know more than I know. They got a degree in this. I'm just figuring this stuff out as I go, and I'm self-teaching myself.
So let me stop you and interject something. This brother has won an Emmy.
Yeah.
So I just want to throw that in there as you say all this about all these people and blah, blah,
it's
blah.
the story that we tell ourselves, right? Because I would imagine that probably more of those people aren't graduates than are, right? Like it probably runs the gamut, and you might be surprised at how many of them are not degreed.
Yeah. And as I've gotten older, I recognize that.
Yeah.
Which is why I said earlier, it was a whole lot more just heavy on me earlier on when I was younger.
Yeah.
At 51, not so much. Other things are there because I'm moving to new levels. I'm like, okay, new spaces, what does that look like? But to go back to your point, that was a big thing. I felt like I didn't belong. I felt like I had something to prove. And honestly, that's what drove me. Because I felt like I was never good enough. So I felt like I got to get better. Yeah. I got to learn more. And so that's what it just kept. It was like this thing on my shoulder that just drove me and pushed me, because I'm like, I got to be as good as them. I got to be, because I didn't finish, because I'm not what they are. And then to your point, you mentioned I messed around and won an Emmy. I'm like, wait, what? That blew me away. I didn't see that coming. And it was for a documentary that I was part of. I was a producer, editor on it. And it was an organization I was working for, was contracted on, and it was on homelessness. Really powerful piece. And it was a team I was part of. They just say they would shoot the footage or whatever, and the terminology they have for me was like, Victor, here's the footage, Hoganize it, meaning do your thing. Because then we just give it to you, you're going to create the story. Yeah. And that's what I did. But because I was so driven because of the insecurity and imposter syndrome, I felt like I need to learn how to edit, how to shoot, how to light, how to do audio, how to do graphic. I'm like, I gotta know how to do all this stuff so I belong. Yeah. Not realizing that's not how the industry worked. Right. Because one person does this, one person does that, and you have a whole team comes together, and then they create the stuff. Now, that has worked to my advantage a lot now. So I'm glad I learned everything, because the way it was done, because of the way the industry has shifted, because of whatever reason, they're looking for people who could do more than one thing when they hire you. So that was a huge advantage for me, but that's not how it worked.
I'm gonna swing to you in a second. I just want to throw out there for the audience. So I've been told by my own personal therapist that there is no official term as imposter syndrome. So I just want to let everybody know. I brought that term up, but I'm not a professional. I want to just put it out there that imposter syndrome, apparently, as I've been told, is just something we make up in our mind and we tell ourselves, to the point that you were making. So anyway, with that.
Yeah. No, what came up for me as you were walking through that, when you were walking through all of the diligence that you had with learning the different tools, the different areas of the business, fighting through that imposter syndrome, right? Which is
Yeah.
a concept we subscribe to. But I also went back to a conversation that you and I have had before,
Mhm.
where you talked about your favorite movie as a child,
Yeah.
and why that was so intriguing to me in this moment, connected to what we said, is because you growing up in Queens, Panamanian parents, the experience that had created, but the juxtaposition of the never-ending story
Mhm.
being your favorite movie.
Yeah.
Talk about like how you connected to that and how that then played itself out in your pursuit of what's now fulfilling your dreams.
Mm. Yeah. So the Neverending Story is my all-time favorite movie since I was a kid, and we did talk about that. And I think several different things. One, I love this. I love a hero's journey story. That's like my favorite genre, and that's what that really was. It was a hero's journey. This kid going through this journey, discovering that he, in fact, he had the answer all along. And the way it unfolded to me was just, even as a kid, it just resonated. For whatever reason, at the time, I didn't realize what it was, but it did in my life. I'm realizing because I feel like I think we're all on our own hero's journey through life.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why, as a kid, I connected with it so much. And now, as I've gotten older, it really resonates. But and then the setting of it felt like, to me, it felt like Queens. I think it was shot in Canada or somewhere, but it felt like the set, just from the visuals, it felt like Queens. And then I've always been the kid fantasy. I'm creative, always in my head.
Yeah.
Always in my head. Stayed till this day. I'm always in my head. I'm always thinking about something. Like I get lost in my thoughts all the time. But it was just the connection with that creative journey and this fantasy world, and the thought of as a kid, as someone like watching my story unfold. Like, is there something like so? Is there like eyes on me? Like I always felt like how do I? It's like, are they not actual cameras, but like, is there something bigger watching me as I go on this journey? And it just keeps as I'm watching others. Is that this whole thing that kind of happened in my head as a child, and I can't really fully verbalize it, but the creative aspect of we're not alone. There's a bigger purpose. Um, I'm on this journey. Um, I am good enough. I am powerful enough. This thing of he had a fear of he wasn't good enough. Like he didn't really know what the answer was, but they were like, yeah, you do. It's in you now. Just say it, and then it fixes everything. So it's just that connection to. I mean, it felt like it just on that level.
Yeah.
So let me ask this question then, because I also know that one of his other favorite movies is Forrest Gump.
Yes, that's the second one.
Right.
Love that movie.
So I know, and it's kind of
That's
similar
also-
in terms of
It's
the
a hero
hero's
narrative.
journey,
It is,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So you said something in terms of he is enough.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm.
So at what point in time throughout your life did you get to the point where you could say to yourself that you were enough?
Yeah, that came after some major life changes. Literally lost everything. So I am currently married. You mentioned that I have kids. My baby graduates in less than a month of the family. A total of 5 kids combined with the Brady Bunch. Brought 4 from our first marriage. Got a bonus daughter, beautiful bonus daughter. Got her at 4 years old. Raised her. She's mine. I call her my daughter, and vice versa. She respected me. But before this, I was married before. And I got married way too young. And built from that, I was building the career, building a life. I had another production company at the time that did really, really well. Lived in what I thought was the home of my dreams. Had the wife, had the kids, had the business. Then it was around, was it 08, 09 when the economy, the bottom fell out.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people lost everything. I was one of those people, literally lost everything. Lost the house, lost the studio, lost the cars. And then at the end, I looked at my wife. I'm like, as long as I have you, we're good. Lost her too. I was like, fuck,
Wow.
really?
Wow.
It's like,
Damn, son.
It was like,
Yeah.
and by the way, there's someone else that found love in my life. I'm not gonna get into her personal, but she had her own life epiphany of who she really was, or whatever. Doesn't really matter. What matters is I lost everything. Had nothing. And when you're in a place when you have nothing, you literally begin to see everything clear as day and what's important and what's not. And then you're forced to look at yourself. And as a person who grew up to that point, and that's in my early 30s then, early to mid 30s, then um, you just start looking at yourself like, okay, one, you start asking yourself, how did I get here? Um, and now I have went from having almost everything. Like did really well. Like I was doing really well during that period, especially for a 30-something-year-old, to be in a place where now I'm on food stamps, EBT cards to feed my kids, and in a place that I'm renting that I couldn't afford. My dad coming in and saying, hey son, here's my account pen, go to the VA hospital and go to my retirement account and pull out some money for your rent this month. And I'm looking, I'm like, what is this? And I'm like, God, like, what, why? Right? And at that point, I'm like, you know what? I never lost my faith in God. I am not a religious person. And people say that and it's becoming a cliche now because it feels like it's a cop-out for not being being a spiritual person. But for me, religion really is, I actually hate religion because what it does is put God in the box, and it's created so much turmoil and war and hate and this division in the world. And I recognize that, and that's all of the conversation. But that being said, my relationship with God is solid then, solid now, will never be shaken, especially since that happened. And I was like, okay, so what next? Like, what? Like, I have nothing. Like, and I was working, like, and there was no work. I had my edit suite, I had cameras, and I would just sit. I'm like, I just figured something out. I was just sitting and putting together reels, trying to figure stuff out. In that process, I was online at the time. Facebook, classmate of mine made a post. I'm getting to your answer in a second.
Yeah.
Commented on the post. His cousin happened to be my now wife's best friend. Saw it. She's never done this before. Connection was made. That was the start of the new journey. And in that new journey, as I rebuilt my life, I realized how much power I had within me through God. And I understand that, and I say through God because I couldn't have planned it better. Like, it was a blind date. My wife was so much beautiful woman. Was not my type though. Crazy. I wasn't her type. At the time I had locks down. I was creative. I had locks down in almost to my butt. Wore it up in the bun all the time. She's a corporate chick. But God knew what I needed in my life. And because I think at that point where it was almost like I yielded to like, and when I was like, God, now what? Like, what are we doing? Like, what are you doing? I need like, it's on you. And then he started moving the pieces, but those pieces just start moving until I made decisions internally to start moving in a certain way, in a certain direction. And when that happened, stuff just started opening up, and I realized the power that I had being plugged into him. And that gave me a confidence through the power, through God. Like, and also like, because I realized it wasn't just me, it was my connection.
There's a higher power.
There's a higher power that I was able to connect into and to be able to, the ability to draw for that. But in that, the gift that was in me was able to really, really be amplified.
Yeah.
And I realized, oh, this is what I am.
Because you're an extension of it.
Yes. Yeah. And that's when I realized, okay, it's not just the story of, what I've accomplished or what I didn't accomplish, that I dropped out of college or not. It's who I was created to be. Yeah. And when I recognized that, I was like, got it.
You like, bet. Use your term.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Bet, let's go.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I ain't looked back. Like, I've been rocking out. Like, over the past, over a decade now, built a whole new career. I mean, it's the same space, but just really built a whole new, I'm in the Georgia film industry. People started seeing me in a different, like, started editing, started shooting. And people were like, okay, who's this guy? Like, where did he come from? Wow, he's good. And word of mouth. And then before you know it, I got a whole community of filmmakers around me that I'm plugged into. To Kyle's point, back quickly and Kyle a few years ago. I mean, the synergy's been crazy with us. We're just tail end of wrapping up our first film from beginning to end. We've done one before, but this one from beginning to end is bananas. But that's because I know I know what I am, right? So whenever I'm moving in that space, it's like I know, okay, this is just me being connected to the Most High, and I'm just rocking with
You
it.
know what I find, interesting about that is I think, as people who are listening in the audience, watching, I think as people, we tend to think I've got to know it all and I got to do it all.
Yeah.
And we don't understand what the term fake it till you make it really means. I think people think, I'm just got to bullshit my way through.
Yeah.
But what I've come to understand in my own personal life is what that really means is confidence goes a long way.
Yeah.
Right? That confidence will carry you through when you're in the darkest place, right? Having said that, and you talk about that transition for yourself, how was the emotional toll? Like what does that look like for you to go from? And you this look, I'm not. You don't have to go deep into this, but I'm just curious about what does that look like to I've lost it all, right? And to end up in a place where confidence and through God carries you through.
Man, initially and as a man, when you're not making money, you feel like you ain't shit. Like like damn, I'm not a real man.
Right.
And society makes you. That's what makes you believe. Like, and there are women like even when my ex-wife left me, I was prepared. I'm like, I'm gonna be alone for a minute. Like, this ain't like what woman in their right mind that I would want would be like, yeah, I'll take you, broke man with 4 kids on your own and barely be able to make it. I'm like, yeah, you know what? It's not happening. So I felt like, honestly, like shit. like
That's
I
real.
wasn't
That's real.
like I mean it was like talk about, I mean, yes, eventually I got to where I am right now, but before that happened, it was a journey from that place of God, now what, to where I am now. And that it felt like initially in my mind this confirms I knew I wasn't worth it. I knew I wasn't supposed to be here.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Ooh, self-fulfilling.
Yeah.
Woo.
That initial thing was I'm like, yep, there it goes. Yep, I knew it. That's what's supposed to be to begin with, and now what do I do? Do I go get a job as retail someplace, or work someone as cash register, or whatever, like sales?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, yeah, this wasn't me. Like, and when no one was hiring me, I'm like, I guess I'm not good enough. Okay, got it. I knew it. So that right there, like when I tell you, that was a blow to me in a way that it's just I wasn't shit in my mind.
You're right.
So I thought to myself, I'm like, I'm gonna be the best man I could be as a father. I'm like, I got these kids. I'm gonna love these kids. Like I'm a dad. That's always been the thing. But I'm like, let me just lean into what I know I am. I know this is what I am, and I'll be able to, and I'll continue to work this thing, and hopefully it picks back up. Because as I said earlier, as a creative, like, this is who I am. If I'm not doing this, what am I doing? So so I went back to, okay, this has got to work. Like, this has to work in some way, shape, form, or fashion. How do I work this? And then of course stuff started clicking, and then my girlfriend, that was my wife, came along, and then business slowly started trickling back in. I decided to do my own. It's funny, the power of a good woman.
Come on.
Man.
Preach, brother, preach.
Because I'm gonna tell you, if not for her, I'm gonna tell you, like, God, I'm like, God, yeah, she was the what you had sitting sitting chilling, waiting for me. But at the right time, okay, now let me show you who you're supposed to be with, and let me show you what that looks like, what a real marriage looks like, what a real friendship looks like, what real support looks like. And then she knew where I was. And let me just back up real quick. When I told her, I was like, when that first date, the blind date, looked at her, I'm like, she's got her shit all the way together. I'm not gonna waste your time. I said, look at me. I'm divorced. I am broke right now. I have 4 kids. I have an EBT card to feed my kids. I'm not even gonna hold you. I'm like, if I like you, it's just cool, but this is I'm like, this is where I am. I said, however, this is where I was. I told her, I mentioned, I'm like, been in the television business. I said, I got an Emmy. I said, I know what I'm doing. I'm not some guy who's like, oh, I'm a filmmaker. I'm bullshit. I'm like, this is what I actually do this. I said, and I was at the top at once. I said, I guarantee you, I will get back there. I'm just not there right now. And I don't want, like, and I know you got a lot going on. Like, you're a single mom. She's climbing the corporate ladder. She has she has her own place. I'm like, I'm not gonna. And she starts to cry across the table. Like, she starts tearing up, and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute.
You're gonna have your wife kick my ass. I'm gonna tell you that right now. But go ahead.
Because she don't like it, but she knows. She knows that she was like, no, let's like, what do you need? Like, I'm like, what do you mean what I need? I'm like, she's like, no, because I kind of told her, I said, my daughter, my baby who's graduated now, the house that I was renting that I couldn't afford. She was sharing a room with my oldest daughter. And it was like, because we didn't have enough beds. I didn't have enough beds. And we had lost the other house. This house we was renting. I used the boxes that we packed the stuff up with, and I put them up against my oldest daughter's bed, and I wrapped them over with comforters to make a bed for my youngest daughter. And then my sons, they shared another room. And she was like, let me just come in and she's like, I'm not rich. I don't have, but I'm gonna help you out. I'm like, she's like, no, I wanna let's see about getting a bed for the baby. Let's figure this out. And second, third date, I'm like, I looked at it, I was like, yo, not letting this one go. This one, I'm like, yeah. And the crazy thing is, people will tell you after you go through a breakup, time to heal. And I probably should have more time to heal. And it wasn't immediately, but I probably, people would say, but I'm like, I got to figure this out internally. I'm like, I can't let her go, because she is what I know I've always needed my entire life. She was everything that my ex-wife wasn't, and so much more.
Wow.
And I'd never experienced that. And I'm like, this is what it's supposed to be.
So you said, I think I heard that she started helping you solution for your kids after the first date?
She mentioned it. She brought it up. She was like, so what's needed? And I'm like, and I was like, I don't need anything. So I'm telling this, thinking she's gonna be like, I'm good. I'm giving you an out. I'm giving you an out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you an out. And she was like, no, I'm sticking to it. Like this. Later on, she was like, after we started getting more serious, started dating more, she was like, what drew me to you? She's like, you're extremely vulnerable and honest. She said, that was really hard to find in men. Like, especially here, they're always fronting.
Okay, hold on. I need you to talk to the camera and the audience about vulnerability, why that's important.
Oh, yeah. Well, vulnerability does. People think it's weakness, but what it does, it connects you with who you really are, and it allows you to grow from where you are. Because if you can't admit what you're not, you can't become what you need to be. And so, like, what vulnerability does, it strips you of pride. And pride is, you need pride as a man, but pride, the negative sense of it, where it's like, where you're not putting up this front to try to protect something, to put up a shield, but you're not protecting yourself. You're not allowing in what you need to heal you. And what vulnerability is, it drops that wall so the healing you need can come in from external, whoever that is, or whatever that is, or the group, or what, from whatever that is to allow you to do it. And it puts that wall. And it's a scary place to be in, because you're like, okay, I could be hurt if I'm vulnerable. Like, you can hurt me. Yeah. But you got to be willing. It takes a lot to do that. But with me, I'm like, shit, I ain't got nothing. Might as well.
Yeah. So real quick, before we move off of this topic, so we just talked about vulnerability. And, for folks in the audience, I think you guys who are experiencing trauma in your life, breakups, divorce, would love to hear more from you on your thoughts around vulnerability. Engage with us on Instagram at Beauty and the Beast 2025. Would love to hear some of your thoughts on that. And with that, we're going to take a break. So we would love to hear more about your experiences with vulnerability. Where are you in that journey? Are you just learning how to be vulnerable? Are you in a place where you think you are willing to be vulnerable with most people in the world? Love to hear more about that from you and the audience on any aspect of our social platforms. We left off talking about vulnerability, and where I want to take this conversation is I want to sit in that for a little while longer. And I think a good place to take this conversation next is with you, Malik, to talk to us about your experiences with marriage and relationships and where you sit as it relates to being vulnerable in those spaces.
Yeah, I think to sit my story next to Vic's, when he talked about that space that he had to navigate of leaving this marriage before the next relationship started, right? Like, and that is a tricky path. And for me, I walked away from, this situation with a lot of questions about myself, with shattered confidence, with feeling like maybe I wasn't the husband that I thought I was, that maybe I wasn't good enough to hold my family together, that maybe I wasn't the man that I thought I was, and that what happened was my fault and I deserved it.
Wow.
So I had to go from that place of self-deprecation, of, even victimization to a degree, and rebuild myself before I could even think about entering into, a real committed relationship again. And what I came to realize in hindsight through therapy was, with most of my identity shattered, what I leaned into was being a dad, because that seemed to be the thing that I hadn't fucked up.
Yeah.
So everything became about providing for my son, making sure that he was good. If he was good, I was good. And that was where all of my energy and all my thoughts went into. And the way that my ego was set up at the time was, as long as I'm doing this well, I don't give a fuck what none of y'all talking about.
Yeah.
And if you are doing anything to disrupt me being a provider and protector for this boy, you better get out the way. Get out the way. And so what that created was a lot of carnage in its wake. Yeah.
So for both of you, what's the impact on the kids?
That's okay. I'm gonna piggyback on. Malik just said
go for
about being a father and making sure they was okay, because full disclosure, when I was in between marriages, I was hurt really bad because she left me. Had a whole relationship going on. I wanted as many women between me and her as possible. I wanted to wash her off of me with other women. So for a second, you're able to navigate these streets and not being real. So I don't have to be vulnerable or disclose who I was. But I have friend circles. I'm like, I'm just gonna move in this space, and I was out here, right? But what arrested me, one, my dad had one thing I love about my dad, he's never gonna look at me and say, you're doing this wrong, you're doing that wrong, you do this, that, that, that. Never, he would never do that. What he did say was, hey, son, I understand you're going through some things. But you know how you were raised. You know how I raised you. He said, now, I'm not gonna judge you what you're doing, but understand if you keep doing what you're doing right now, you think what you just went through was bad, it'd be even worse because you're making things worse. However, if you back up, move the way you know you need to move, and the way you were raised, the world will open up to you, your life will be better than it ever would be. Could have been back then, or ever you can imagine. He was right. While I was doing all that stuff, the one thing that I did not do was expose my kids to any of that.
That part.
Because I'm like, you know what? I cannot bring this home to these kids ever at all. I'm like, that's not happening. Like, my thing, I got to protect my kids. I'm like, this is my hurt, what I'm dealing with. So for me, I'm like, I got to make sure that they're
You
covered.
didn't want to poison them against her.
So I'm assuming you're doing the same thing in terms of the relationship you got out of too, like shielding them from
So
the
with
impacts of that.
so with their mom, I'm gonna tell you the most jagged pill to swallow was one, understanding them. This is the woman who was the mother of my kids. I had to stomach that, but also I can't paint her in a bad light to them.
That's right.
That's a rough thing to do when she is the one who pretty much fucked you up and fucked the family up for whatever reason.
Right. And
Yeah.
you're not saying she's a bad person.
no,
You're
I'm not-
just saying
that
she made a decision
and-
that had an
and-
impact.
As a result of her decision, that's where we are. So I had to really, really navigate that space where I had to cover them from that. Can't say the same was done on the other side for me, because I feel like whatever she was dealing with, maybe she needed to feel like she was a victim. I don't know. Don't really care.
Right.
But the bottom line was stuff was subliminally communicated to the kids, whatever. But they started painting. They saw one side to what happened, right, without knowing the full story. It was not my job as a father to make sure they know my side of the story.
Right.
It is my job as a father to make sure that they have the best and the most wholesome and full childhood they possibly can without having to deal with already broken, I don't know, like the home that was now separated.
Right.
Now
Yeah.
it's been transformed. Let me make that as smooth for them as possible. My wife that I'm with now, my wife, she helped with that tremendously, where I had to really protect them from the facts of what happened, because it doesn't help it.
So what does that do? I want to come to you and then come back to you with this question. What does that do to your relationship with your son? And then same for you. What does that do to the relationship with the rest of your kids? But I want to have you answer that first, and I'll come back.
Yeah, so, like Vic was saying, shielding him was important to me. And it was because my fear was that I didn't want to say anything venomous about her, no matter how I felt about what she did.
Yeah.
And of course, in that moment, everything was her fault, right? Later iteration of me, wiser looking in hindsight, understands where my opportunities were.
Right.
But in the moment, I was thinking, I can't say anything venomous about her because I don't want to poison him against women. I didn't want him to then grow up with this negative image about women and what their value was or wasn't. So I never talked about anything that transpired between us and why we split. It was always just, hey, we've made this decision. She's going to live her life in this way. I'm going to live my life in this way. And we're both going to make sure that you're taken care of to the best of our ability.
Did that impact your relationship he had with you?
I think that what inevitably started coming to light was, because my son is smart as shit and always has been, he started to see discrepancies, right? He understood that dad was doing this and mom was doing this, or dad wasn't doing this and mom wasn't doing this. So those things started coming into play, and they infected or impacted our relationship, but in a very positive way, to where I very much started ascending as the dominant parent in the relationship, and driving a lot of the decisions, trying to make it as collaborative as possible the whole time. But there were times where I would say, this is the direction that we're going in. And I think that, to your question specifically, I think he saw that. And I think I was able to model some things to him that were sticky. Now, there are also some things that I did, in pushing him, helping him to become the man that I wanted to see him become and be greater than myself. I was fucking him up a little bit. I was shaping him as to who I wanted him to be, a better version of me, instead of helping him be the best version of himself.
Yeah.
So for you, what's this dynamic like as you You're going through this divorce, you're evolving, you meet a new woman, you get married, and now you sit with grown kids. Like, how does that evolution? Like, what happens with your relationships with your children?
Yeah, I mean, we've always been a solid relationship with the kids. They understood what the dynamics of between myself and their mother was. They understood there were boundaries that I put up for reasons I'm not going to dig into them, but there were some really
Yeah,
tough
that's fine.
situations that
Yep.
I had to put a boundary to protect myself, protect my wife, protect my
Mhm.
house, protect the kids while they were with me. But as a result of that, I mentioned earlier, there was one side of it. They didn't get the whole truth because I was covering and protecting them. As a result, what happened now is adult kids, things kind of, in particular, the two middle kids, and even more recently, my son, my younger son, who's not 21, where we had a situation where we're taking family photos, and stuff kind of went sideways. He really got upset because he felt like we were trying to, I guess, control him or put up this front of something that we weren't because we had to dress a certain kind of way, and he got saw the same thing, like puffing his chest up, like he was like felt like he was upset at my wife. I'm like what's going, I'm like, what is this? What's going on there? My older son was there. He was like, I think we all need to talk about some things, and I'm like, and because understand my younger son, he's not wasn't very vocal. This has gotten on, he communicates a lot, but he really held stuff in. He's lived in an echo
Yeah.
chamber. He stayed in his head.
Mm.
And so he didn't know the truth of things. So whatever he heard growing up or whatever he saw on the other side, he sort of masking it over here. And he had painted his narrative because I was never putting into that the full story.
Right.
Even though he looked like your dad, like dad, you're a great dad, da, 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 but there was still this thing. And I'm like, yeah, we need to talk. We need to talk. So we went out with him and my oldest daughter, who's my two middle kids. She's 26, and in that conversation, a lot came out. And I was like, because when he graduated from high school, he went out to college, and he really didn't. He went to college here locally. He didn't come around a lot. I'm like, I told you, you can come around. He was like, I'm like, well, I'm like, you can't, as a son, as a black man, you need the father to help you in that situation. Like, we need each other. Like, you need this figure. And he was like, well, Dad, I don't understand because there's plenty of different ways of being a man. I'm like, yeah, I don't disagree with that. Like, there is no one way. And he was like, yeah, but it just seemed like, like he was putting something on me that wasn't me.
Mm.
He's like, like I need to move a certain kind of way because you said X, Y, and Z. He's like, and anything, the stuff that I was taught to be by being a man, I use none of it. I was like, wait, what? He's like, and I've been okay.
Negro, please.
And he was like standing 10 toes down in that. I said, I see what's going on here. I said, son, when I agree with you, there is not one way of being a man. I said, but let me ask you a question. I said, you got friends? He's like, yeah. I said, you loyal to them friends? You're like, yeah. I said, you got your own place with your roommates. I'm like, he's like, yeah. I said, you pay your bills? He was like, yeah. So you're in college, you got a full scholarship. Your grades got to be to a certain part. He's like, yeah. I said, so you've been staying up there with that. He was like, yeah. I'm like, so you're keeping that money coming in there? He was like, yeah. I said, you date, like, you move with integrity, like, do you cheat on these people you with? He was like, no, absolutely not. I said, yeah, where do you think you got that from? Looked at me, I'm like, that's being a man. He was like, he looked at me, he was like, the look on his face, like, oh shit. I'm like, yeah. I said, just because, and you said something earlier, wanted to mold your son to be the better version of what you wanted to be. And it's something you learn as being a father throughout the years and as they get older. I recognize that not early on, I did that with the older ones. But by the time he came along, I figured, I'm like, yeah, no, they need to be who they are. I said, son, I recognize, because he's a creative like I'm a creative, but he's in the music world. He's extremely creative. He moves, he has his own dress style, the way he moves, the way he looks, even how, like, he's his own look, his own thing. I said, I'm not trying to make you me. I'm like, you are who you are. I said, just because, I'm not telling you to dress like me. I said, however, there are situations where you need to learn how to move a certain way in a professional setting that, that you still need to know and learn how to do. I said, however, still be you. I said, but I'm not trying to make you me. It's the core of who you are. What you just told me was you're a man of integrity. You're a great friend. Pay your bills. You understand your responsibilities to keep your grades up, to keep a scholarship because you got a career ahead of you. All the stuff you're doing. I said, that is being a man. I said, just like me, because I mentioned earlier, Panamanian, my parents to them were abuelo and abuela. I said, abuelo, I said, me and my dad, I said, we're not the same. I mean, yeah, the core, my foundation of who I am is him. I said, but things that he does, that I do that he probably wouldn't agree with. I said, but that's me. I'm my own person. I'm a grown man. Like, I'm gonna live my life the way and that I live. I said, but like, I respect you in that too. You're coming to being a grown man. I'm not gonna make you be me when you're you.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some things that, as a man, and I'm not talking about, people talk about masculinity and da-da-da. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just as a man, you're a protector, you're a provider, you're a man of integrity. You host, like, you're someone people could depend on. You're responsible. I said, that's what that means. Now, you don't have to assign gender to that. I said, but however, as a man, that's a little bit more weighty. Black man to black man.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, there's so many other conversations around that. And he understood that.
Yeah.
And the dots started connecting, and he was like, wow. I said, that's why you need me. And he looked at me, he was like, Dad, I really wish we spoke so much sooner. I'm like, right? Like you just so like that, you really great dad. And my oldest son, we had a similar conversation before that, because my oldest son, my ex-wife, she kept him, he was some crazy stuff. When he was 16, I lost about 4 years with this kid.
Mm-hmm.
That broke my heart. He circled back around when he was about 21, and he and I, thick as thieves. Like, we go have cigars and whiskey together. Love this guy.
Yeah.
He looked at me one day. We were at the cigar bar. He was like having over Japanese. I love Japanese whiskey, and 2 great cigars. He was like, Dad, I'm gonna tell you, you're a great dad. He said, but you know what? You're like a really, really cool, like a great guy. I'm gonna tell you, it took everything in me not to start crying in that moment, because I'm like, damn, I did it.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, I did it. I did it.
you know what to me, it circles right back around to where we started this segment, is vulnerability.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? Is I have learned and discovered this with my son in a very similar vein, is they don't listen to you when you yell at them.
No.
They listen to you when you're vulnerable with them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it goes back to the power of vulnerability. Like, I feel like in a lot of aspects of life and relationships, I think being vulnerable, and someone said it before, is just like, it kind of, the ego kind of just melts away, right? And you are then real in that, right? It's not, there's no longer like this facade of who you think you are and who others think you are. It's just like, you are who you are when you're being vulnerable with the people that you love.
Yeah. That's why it's an inseparable part of great leadership, because the leadership, it shows up in the workplace, but also in your home.
Yeah.
And as a leader in your home, you have to be vulnerable, because otherwise, like you say, who the fuck want to listen to you because you're yelling at them?
Yeah.
Like, people want to feel a real connection with you, whether they're your family or whether they're your coworkers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a funny story about my son about vulnerability. It was like, I'll never forget when I really saw him as an adult.
Yeah.
Because we went out to get some food, right? We went out and there was a third party there. Let's just call him my life coach, therapist. We've transcended therapy. He's become a friend of mine. And so we go out and he was like, yeah, invite your son out. Let's go, blah, blah, blah. So this is the first time he's meeting my son.
Okay.
And so we're sitting there and he asked my son, how the hoes treat me. And I'm sitting there as a father. I'm just like, oh, where's this conversation about to go?
What we doing, son?
And then my son says, well, there's some young lady. Let me stop you, bro. I said, how these hoes treat me. And then my son turned into a grown-ass motherfucking man. He was just like, well, this chick, she came by and she put her head on my chest. I was like, it's go time. And I was just like, this motherfucker, like, really, is this what he doing out in these streets? I was just like, oh my God. Like, okay. It was just like, you grown. I was like, yeah. But that was a vulnerable moment. And absolutely. I was like, I saw him differently. Now, let me be clear. I'm not saying, you got taking advantage of women and all that makes you an adult and makes you a man. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
What I am saying is, in that moment, right, of him being vulnerable, that was a pivot for me for how I saw him as a person, right? Saw him as a man that just happens to be my son.
Yes.
Right. Not the little guy.
You just happen to be my kid. And that's what makes it so dope. Like, all my kids, honestly. But recently, back to my older son, I'm like, you're like, I'm like, likewise, I'm like, I fuck with you, but you happen to be my son too.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is dope.
And how cool is it when you get those unexpected calls and you're like, what do you need? And they're like, no, I'm just calling to say what's up and
Yeah.
tell you what's going on. And
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
all right, cool.
Yeah, those are great,
What's
man.
the word? What's
Yeah.
the word?
Those are great. That's awesome. And
So
yeah.
So I think, so I'm glad we spent some time in that space, because I think it was very important to talk through what does vulnerability really look like. Because I think, us as Black men, like, we don't spend enough time
Yeah.
in that vulnerable space, and we don't have these kinds of dialogue and conversations.
No.
And I've said this on other episodes. It's like it takes so much trust
Yes.
for us to get in this space that I think in some cases it makes sense, but in others it's like it does us a disservice, because of course you got to trust people to be vulnerable with them, but I feel like people of the opposite sex tend to get there sooner. And I was talking to the producer earlier. I was just like, it may be the opposite for women. Is that, and I hadn't thought about this. It's like what she shared with me was women tend to be very vulnerable very quickly, but they lack the connection.
Damn.
And I was just like,
you know what?
I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas men, it takes a lot for us to be vulnerable.
Right.
But once we are, because we've had to trust you, it's like there's a bond. There's
I'm
a
locking
connection.
in like we good. Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
That's interesting.
That's true. I think I can't speak for women, but I can kind of yeah. Because I feel like I think the harder it is for you to be vulnerable and open, when it does happen, I feel like it means so much more, because you got me to this place now. Like, well, so we here now. Like,
so what I'd love for you to do is to tell the story about us being on set and how your business partners had your back.
Oh,
and it's not
man.
about me, but I want you to tell that story more so from a male bonding perspective.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you. So we mentioned earlier in this podcast that we did our first film from beginning to end, and I was directing this. My best friend Alan wrote this. As kids, guys,
Great movie. When it comes out, everybody, please check out Everywhere Most of the Time. Amot. It will be coming to you soon.
Yeah, but it was on set. And when you're set as a director, like there's a lot going on. Like there's a lot of moving pieces. With this, we had a set amount of time to get stuff done. I started feeling the pressure of this stuff. I mean, I've done it before a million times, but I'm like, okay, there's a lot riding on this. This is my company's first film. I can't let these guys down. We have investors aboard. I'm like, I can't let, like, we gotta make this happen. And it was just weighing on me. And I'm like, I'm not a stranger to pressure, but it was on me. I'm like, I just got to muscle through. I figured out my own, like I always do. I went to this place. I'm figuring like, and so I was coming back from moving a car or something. I was walking back to the house, to the set. Kyle walks up. He was like, he's like you good? I'm like, I was like, yeah. He's like, no, you're not. He's like, come here for a second. Like, no. He's like, slow down, breathe.
And we literally did a breathing exercise.
And I was like, yo. I'm like, how you know I knew that? He's like, he said, I've been watching you.
Right.
As a matter of fact, he's like, come down to the back deck. Me, you, and Quigley, like, got something for you down there. Walk down there. Quigley, Kyle, Quigley's other partner, sit on the back lower deck, break out a bottle of a really great bottle of rum.
That we got for your birthday.
They got for my birthday, Japanese rum. It's amazing. Oh my God, it's amazing. I love brown. But anyways, break it out. 2 ounce pour. They're like, you know what? Let's have a drink. Let's toast it up real quick. And both of them proceeded to speak life into me. And I actually started crying a little bit. And I'm like, and the connection with these two, I was like, yo, like to have that in your business partners in the workplace makes a huge difference, because now it's not just about the work. It became very personal. As a creative, anybody who's a creative knows that that line blurs. It's hard to be, you're creative and it's corporate or not, that what we feel.
Right.
And have two male partners who understood that and spoke into me and saw that, and I was able to be vulnerable in that moment, and they saw me. Like Kyle, I'm like, you actually see me.
Yeah.
And they both saw me and they spoke to me, and I was like, wow, that was a male bonding experience. Top tier. that I've ever experienced in any setting when it came to work, work on a project or anything. Outside, of course, like my best friend Alan, but that was like, that's personal. That's
Yeah.
regular. But in this setting, the lines blurred, and I'm like, but these are my brothers. Like, this, I fuck with this.
Yeah.
I fuck with this.
What came up for me as you were sharing that story was this whole old adage of it's business, not personal.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Bullshit.
It's bullshit.
Bullshit.
It's always
It's
personal.
always personal.
It's
It's
always personal because there is no business without people.
Yep.
And with people, there has to be personal connection.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. I kind of want to bring us to a close. And as we do that on this podcast, there are a couple questions we'd like to ask. And depending on how you answer, we may pivot a little bit. But first question in closing, and then before we actually close, I've got a little bit of surprise for you. But first question is, would love to get your opinion on your thoughts around the Black man being perceived as a beast in the world.
Wow, that's loaded. Yeah, it goes back to what I was talking about younger son about him needing another Black man to guide him through this, because the world, for whatever reason, they fear us. It's crazy. They fear us, they hate us, but at the same time, they want to be us. And it sounds like a cliche, but it's true. If you look at everybody, like they strive to be that. Whether it's our culture, it's and we see this all the time. But I'm gonna say it because it's true. Like they want to move the way we move, dress the way we dress, music, everything, our style. But at the same time, they hate us. And I'm gonna tell you, as I've gotten older, like I think as we get older, we kind of figure out how to navigate that. But remember my younger years, me personally, I remember going this hard left, and I'm like, fuck all y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for real. I'm like, if you don't like me, I'm like, fuck you. I ain't have to know you, because I'm like, you look at me a certain kind of way, I'm like, I know you hate me. You ain't gonna tell me. And that's a burden. That's a real burden we kind of carried. And as you get older, of course, your wisdom sets in, and you figure out how to navigate those feelings, and you figure out how to process those feelings and what it looks like, and how because at the same time you got to make sure that you're moving a certain kind of way, because you got to protect yourself while not proving them right that you are a beast. Although you provoked me,
All right.
You provoked me. You probably deserve what I want to do, but I'm like, I can't do that. So it's rough. I mean, no one will ever know what it is to be a Black man. I think a lot of people, in my opinion, and there's no knock to anybody who doesn't have a Black wife, because I'm sure there are white women out there who that you love who you love. But for me personally, I think only a Black woman could support me the way I need to be supported as a Black man.
Mm-hmm.
Because only people hate her more than a Black man is a Black woman, and they strong as fuck.
Yeah,
a good one, and like I need that. And I mean, honestly, that's been what's gotten me through my adult years, is having a really strong Black woman rocking out with me, because she sees me, and she supports me, and she pushes me to limits that I didn't know I can get to, and she sees in me stuff that I didn't even see. And she's like, "No, you could just do it." Like my first film I did almost a decade ago, she was like, "I'm like, I need to break into the mainstream film." She was like, "Just do it." I'm like, "I can't just do it. What do you mean?" She was like, "You can do this and a third. Just do it." And I looked at her. I'm like, "Well, okay." And here I sit now, doing it on a high level. But I think you never shed that. It's always there. That beast being presented, like, it's there, and it's never gonna go away. It's like it never goes away, especially with this current. I'm not getting politics, but with the current political status of where we are right now, and now we're rolling stuff back and making it even worse. So it's like, now I got to deal with this shit.
Right.
It's like, God damn. Can I get a breathe? I'm thinking I'm going in the right direction, and now here we are. You bringing this back, and now
as soon as I think I'm out, they pull me
me
right
back
back
in.
in.
I was like, damn. But yeah, I mean, but you learn to live with it. Is one of the things where if you see a Black man in the street, just know people are like, well, I don't understand. You're your own person. Why do you guys, like other races, other men, be like, why do you guys feel like you need to stick together? I'm like, you know what bonds us? Yeah, no, we're not a monolith. But what bonds us, honestly, is you guys. You look at our skins, and so now we all have to navigate this in our own way to come back to you guys. So yeah, now we're yes. So I'm gonna rock out with my black brothers, whether you're from the high end somewhere, I don't know, upper echelons to the hood, back in my own neighborhood of South Queen. Like I don't like we all like. Are you from the third world country?
Yeah.
Like it don't matter. Like nigga, like this is you guys are the reason why we bond like this. So we have to because how you guys view it. So like we learn to navigate it. We navigate it differently. But this is
All right. So last question. What in this world makes you feel loved?
damn. What makes me feel loved?
Could be who, could be anything.
It's my family. Like it's all five of my kids. It's my wife, my parents, my sister. The appreciation and the support that I get, verbal and nonverbal, the presence of being around me, I mean, that's what makes me feel loved. Like without them, like honestly, that's the truest form of love. It's that. And each one is different. Like my mom and dad, like I expect that it's mom and dad. My sister, my sibling, which is I didn't get to talk about her in this, but she's been a major player in my life. My wife, of course, without again, that's my life partner. Like she is in every step of the way, she is what she is. But my kids, in a very different and special and big way, that's the one because those are the ones who I had stewardship over, and I want to make sure that I did the best I could for them. And when they say, "Dad, I love you," in the most pure, and they're like, "No, we really love you."
Yeah.
That shit fucks me up every time. That's a different kind of. That's just different because so many people right now in this world are fucked up because they've had messed up. Like my dad wasn't shit, or my mom wasn't this and that, and like I couldn't be that guy. So that's that love. That's to me that's the purest. That's because they didn't. My wife chose me.
Right.
My parents had me.
Yeah.
My sister, my sibling, yeah, that's hit or miss, but you know, we just happen to be cool.
Yeah.
But my kids didn't choose. Like I was pretty much, put on them. Like they didn't choose to be my kids.
Right.
They don't have to return that. Like it is, so those are the ones where they look back and they go, yeah, I do love you purely because of who you are and what you've done. And I couldn't have asked for a better, and they've said this, I could not have asked for a better dad. And my oldest son was like, the way you navigated what you went through in your life when you lost everything with mom, he was like, yeah, you couldn't have handled that better. And when he said that, I was like, yeah, that's what I need to hear. Because the whole time I'm thinking, when this is all said and done, when I get through this, what are these kids going to think about me? Did I do this right? Do they still love me? That's the part that makes me feel, they ain't nothing bigger than that for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Surprise time. So, one of the things we do as part of this podcast.
Yeah, he's looking.
I know, he's trying to figure out what it is. Is we reach out to a special someone in your life and ask them to write a letter to you.
Oh, snap.
So, Carrie, who is fiercely protective of her husband.
That's my chick, man.
We went back and forth on this one, and it's gonna come through on the letter. So but I love Carrie.
Yeah, that's my girl.
So I'm gonna read this letter out loud to you that she has provided to us.
Okay.
A letter to my husband. I struggled with this assignment, and truthfully, I was apprehensive about sharing a letter like this on a public platform.
Oh boy.
Like I said, hey.
Okay.
Strap in.
When asked to reflect on how you and the family have experienced Vic's emotional journey over the years, this is the text I sent her.
Okay.
Expressing the good, the wonderful, the bad, the ugly, and the growth of your relationship, I hesitated. Not out of reluctance to acknowledge the journey, but because I believe that emotional experiences, traumas, and breakthroughs are deeply personal.
Yeah.
They are not mine to narrate on behalf of another, especially not my husband's. I also considered our children, each of whom has been shaped in their own way by the emotional contours of our family's story. Some are still navigating their growth and understanding, and I hold sacred space for that. And finally, as someone who values privacy, I believe that meaningful sharing, particularly when it involves others, should ideally be supported by professional guidance and therapeutic care. You call that therapist yet, bro?
I-
Yeah, study. That hasn't occurred in all aspects of our family dynamic. So offering up those pieces to the public feels misaligned with my values. But here's what I can share gladly, lovingly, and without hesitation. My husband's emotional intelligence has been forged through life's triumphs and trials, and it has become one of the cornerstones of our marriage. His awareness, his transparency with me, his quiet strength, and thoughtful reflection. These are the gifts that have made our relationship resilient, our connection irrevocable, and our love irreplaceable. I deeply admire the way he leads with heart for us. I am thankful for how his intentional, considerate, and selfless he is when it comes to our family. One of our ongoing opportunities, I believe, is learning where to place boundaries and recognizing when his grace and emotional generosity aren't always deserved or reciprocated by others on their own journey. Still, I thank him for who he is, for how he loves, for how connected he is to his emotional self, and how he channels that into being the soul and strength of our family. Because of that, I love him endlessly.
I don't think ain't shit. Why you gonna put that on me like that? Yo, that's damn.
What's coming up for you?
It's all good, brother. It's all good. We're here to support you.
Hold up.
You don't have to say a word. You do not
No,
have to say a word. We can end it right there.
I would just say just for me, it means it was worth it. If I had to go through the trauma and the hell I went through the first time to get here with her, with my kids, I'd do that a million times.
Amen.
That letter just solidified it. Damn. Yeah.
And with that, we're out.